ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. My name is Boltor, and today I wanted to do something just a little bit different. I haven't really been playing the game as much, but that's primarily because I've been working all the time. By the time I'm done working and I get home, I've got stuff to do here, and so I haven't really been playing much of anything these days. But at any rate, guys, you don't come to this channel to hear about my financial woes. You come here to watch Spellweaver content. So at least for the moment, I don't know if there's going to be a whole lot of gameplay videos coming up, at least not anytime recently. But if you guys are looking for gameplay footage for Spellweaver, I mean, Fuzz streams all the time, and he's got a bunch of videos up, and so does Jodo. So feel free to check them out. But at least I wanted to touch on something that I just wanted to do another Spellweaver speculation, and I have some ideas for other Spellweaver content that I'm going to be making in the future. At least I'm thinking about doing it down the road, and that information will come at the end of the video. But today, there's a thread on the forums that's gaining quite a lot of popularity. Someone who's a fan of one of the artists or the illustrators for Spellweaver, their DeviantArt page, I believe, is kind of following that, and all the artwork that's not being currently used for Spellweaver cards that's on there. You know, there's a bit of speculation about what this card does, what this art's going to be used for, what that card or that art's going to be used for. But a lot of it is locked away in this Spellweaver art book that I got my hands on. Now, for those of you who don't know, when Spellweaver was in closed beta, if you financially backed the game, you donated 10, 20, I think it went up, it was like 10, 20, 40, or 50, or even like $100 or something, something ridiculous like that. You got this, you got a couple of little things at, as a reward. You got, like, I believe the art book was one of them. You got, like, the soundtrack for the game. You got early access to the beta once it switched out of closed beta. And then a few other goodies like a card back and backer rewards, so you get like crystals every week or such. Anyway, so I donated $20, and a part of the $20 was the Spellweaver art book. Now, I've never been much of an artistic guy myself. I can take a look at a picture and go, hey, that's pretty, but really I have no artistic talent whatsoever. That's beautiful fiance. She's got all the artistic talent in this relationship. But there are a number of artworks locked away in the the art book. It's been a long day. Can you guys tell? That are not used currently in cards, and I wanted to kind of flip through here to unlock the secrets of the Spellweaver art book and show you guys some of the art that isn't currently being used. Now, a lot of it might have been spoiled on the forums. I haven't really been paying attention to every single picture that was posted to the forums, and I refrained from doing this for a while just because I didn't want, the art book is supposed to be an exclusive reward sort of deal, and I didn't want to be like, hey guys, look at this, check this out, right off the bat. But certain posts that the devs have made have basically given me the okay, at least as I understand it, the okay to do this. So for lack of any better idea, I wanted to kind of sit down and do this. So first things first, we're gonna go ahead and crack open the art book. Now, the first couple artworks you're gonna see are obvious, stuff you guys have already seen, but soon we'll come across stuff that is new. Some of the stuff, like I said, has been, if you go, there's a forum post about future illustrations and stuff. I think it's on like either closed beta discussion or feedback and suggestions. But at any rate, maybe it's even under the cards. But anyway, I ramble. So first things first, real quick, I'm just going to switch this to 2-page view just because it'll be quicker that way. It's 101 pages, and I don't want to, this video to drag on for an hour. So as you can see, we've got Bloodwell Matriarch. Here is the cover page. So now, first things first, we're going to start with order. Now, each one of these comes with a little bit of lore and a little bit of, like, background information. You guys can kind of take a look at that. I mean, if you pause stuff, you might see it. So first, we've got we've got Alexa, we've got Sunblessed Priest, Angelic Song, all stuff, you guys know because you've played these cards before. But the first one we're going to come across is hurried conscription. Now, hurried conscription means you're signed up to, fight in the army. So a hurried conscription usually refers to being drafted. Not exactly, you didn't exactly sign up, but you were signed up. You know what I mean? So you're kind of drafted to join the army. So I see this and I think of the scene from Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, where they're at Helm's Deep and they have to sign just about everyone they can. Any man or child strong enough to wield a sword, go to the armory kind of deal. So I get the overwhelming feeling that this is kind of like almost like a guards kind of thing. Speaking of which, see, this is kind of old. Guard duty, guards. They're not the same anymore. But anyway, so I could see this as kind of like summon 3 militia, give them +1/+1 with their new power, making them 2/2 speed 2 blockers, that are that like die at the end of the turn. Like they only last until end of turn. So tokens that are basically thrown out there very quickly, and it obviously would be an instant. But just kind of like, oh shit, we're in trouble. Get the get some. We need more soldiers. Get them out there now, kind of deal. This obviously the video is called Spellweaver Speculation, so this is all speculation. I have absolutely no foreknowledge. I don't talk to the devs, and they don't spoil new cards just to me. Because I'm not that special. But this is just kind of off the top of my head, so there's that. Now next we have Prosperous Rule, which you got the king there. Everyone's bringing him tribute. Maybe something I foresee something along the lines of whenever there's a magic card, I forget what it's called from Magic the Gathering. There's a card out there. It's called land tax or something along those lines. I might be screwing up but either way, basically what it does is I know there's a card called land tax, but it doesn't have the same effect that I'm thinking of. The card I'm thinking of from Magic, and you guys can help me, but it's basically a card that says whenever your opponent plays their second creature of the turn, or maybe even this is the first one, you can either have it take, I think it's 3 damage or something, 2 or 3 damage, or allow your opponent to draw a card. So the person who owns Prosperous Rule, if their opponent played the second creature for their turn, when that second creature was played, the opponent would have the choice of either letting that creature take damage, or maybe even they take damage, or the person who controls Prosperous Rule gets to draw a card, or maybe gets mana until end of turn or something along those lines. So I foresee this as more or less a something to kind of out advantage your opponent. Maybe since it's order, maybe it's something along the lines of can't attack for a turn, in addition to Summoning Sickness, or draws a card, something along those lines. Whenever your opponent does something, they either have to pay tribute in drawing, in letting you draw the card, or they have to or they face the wrath of the kingdom, sort of thing. That's where my mind goes when I see Prosperous Rule. Now next, Peaceful Prayer. Now I get the overwhelming feeling that this is Peaceful Prayer was originally supposed to be the artwork for Angelic's Song, but there's a card. What I think of when I think of Peaceful Prayer is kind of a there's a Yu-Gi-Oh card back when I played Yu-Gi-Oh, and this is a card that actually helped me make it to the national championship, hilariously enough. It was called One Day of Peace. Neither you nor your opponent could deal damage to each other, and both players drew a card. So maybe Peaceful Prayer functions along those lines, And again, maybe Peaceful Prayer isn't even in the list of of stuff that's going to become a card, in the next set. This is again just speculation on my part, but see, I think of it, and I think of Peaceful Prayer as in a prayer for peace. So what is peace? Peace means there's no fighting. No fighting means there's no combat. So maybe even skip combat entirely, which is different from Angelic's Song, which you're allowed to have combat. You're just not allowed to actually declare an attack with anything. But so I mean, even if Peaceful Prayer is played, it's kind of better than Angelic Song because it can't get destroyed by Unicorn, and then your opponent can attack anyway. So maybe this is more or less just a spell or an action you can play. Now we're moving into Wisdom, and again, you guys can kind of see the Wisdom artwork, some of the conception stuff. Nothing new, although we do have, I think Order is the only one that doesn't have an Incarnate card, and we'll see a little bit of a rotation in that. But Runic Incarnate seems to be like the physical embodiment of Wisdom, a golem, a robot, something that basically embodies the aspect it's representing. Now, since each one of these, like I said, I'm almost positive that I think, and maybe Dominion doesn't have one, but there's multiple incarnates and multiple incarnate effects. So the way I see it is I see them as kind of like, maybe they're like a 3 mana 3/3. Again, the stats really don't matter. It's the effect that I care about. And I think each one of these will have, when this creature attacks, do this. I think that's what all the incarnate abilities or incarnate cards will do. So Runic Incarnate might be draw every time this creature declares an attack. Draw a card, doesn't actually have to deal damage to the opponent, just has to declare itself as an attack. Maybe it shocks something, although we kind of have that in Dust Titan. Maybe it freezes something. I would put my money on drawing a card just because of the runes, and it seems to be, I don't know, runes equal card draw in my mind. Maybe I'm crazy. Next, we have two here. Prism of Knowledge and Steel Shaper Prodigy. Steel Shaper Prodigy kind of seems like Foundry Engineers, but in a different light. Maybe she has some kind of effect with machines or artifacts. Maybe she increases the power of artifacts, like maybe Unstable Reactor deals 2 damage instead of 1, or I don't know. That one I'm not really 100% sure of, just because of the multiple possibilities that come to it. Prism of Knowledge, on the other hand, is one that, to me, says, as long as you control this artifact, draw an additional card at the start of your turn. So, maybe it's like 3 mana, 2 aspects, a lot like what Chalice of Young's used to be. I think Prism of Knowledge would be a great addition to the game, if only because it's at the start of your turn, you give your opponent a chance to react to it, to respond to it, to destroy it. So it wouldn't be that great. It would be a lot like Hearthstone's Nat Piggle without the randomness thrown in, because Blizzard needs randomness in everything these days. So that's again, this is all just kind of what I think, my impressions on the art and the name about what it does. But Knowledge is card draw in Spellweaver and in Magic, but that's beside the point. So that's what it says to me. At the beginning of your turn, draw an additional card, or maybe even draw a card for each something you control. Maybe it's each artifact you control, or spell you control, or something. That's all more or less. I see this giving you additional card draw every turn. That's the effect of Prism of Knowledge in my mind. So moving on to Wisdom or Nature, you can see the Grand Reunion. A little bit of history as to what exactly the Grand Reunion is. Nieva, Playful Fairy. Now, Playful Fairy to me says playful means that she's mischievous. She's not exactly harmful, but she can be annoying. And so I see kind of maybe something along the lines of you play Playful Fairy, maybe she pushes a creature from the front row to the back row. Kind of like Dread Knight and Vegetation Blockade, is it? No. Wasp Swarm or something along those lines. Take a creature, put it in the back row. Not really. It doesn't really hurt your opponent, but it's kind of mischievous. It's not like she's dealing damage or she's killing anything. She's just kind of playing around. Or maybe it's something along the lines of like, your opponent take a creature from the front row and the back row and switch them. Tee-hee, I'm going to move people around and confuse people, kind of thing. That's what I get when I think Playful Fairy. All these we know. Fairy Queen. Now let's think of the fairies we have currently in the game. We have Fae of Charms, we have Storm Fairy, and I'm probably wrong, but I think that's it. At least in nature, looking at the nature ones. Fairy Queen, I could see having an effect something along the lines of like increasing this kind of something, maybe even Mantle of Winds. Like maybe her effect is something like she's the size of Antriel, maybe at least mana cost wise. Maybe she has like. Maybe she's like a 4/4, or maybe even a 3/4, or maybe a 4/5 or something. Stats aren't really important. I'm really thinking about her ability. Maybe she gives +1 speed to all your creatures, which I know in nature would be ridiculous. But I'm not really going off of fairness here. I'm just kind of like, I look at her and I think, what would this artwork fit creature ability wise? So. Maybe she just gives all your creatures flying or something along those lines. That's what I see, because a queen rules. A queen affects or gets other people to fight for her. So same with a king. I'm not being sexist here. Just kind of affects everyone else, and so I kind of see an Antriel-esque effect. All your creatures get this, and what does nature have? It has high speed. It has bounce, it has deck. It's kind of like maybe, so the way I see it is maybe flying, maybe speed, maybe something along those lines. Elagorn the Ancient. This is obviously going to be, because it's a named creature. Oh, Storm Fairy, not no, I said Storm Fairy, didn't I? Anyway, I get sidetracked. Because he has a name, he's not just Storm Fairy or Ambushing Sharpshooter. He doesn't have a title, he has a name. He's Elagorn the Ancient, and honestly, I could see this guy having a very landslide-esque effect. You play him, he throws guys, he hits the ground and there's an earthquake and that causes a landslide. Guys are sent back to their opponent's deck, or I could see something like that off of this guy. I expect this guy to be like a 6/6 or maybe in a 7/7. Give a big creature to nature. I could see that again. Excuse me. Stats not as super important as the effect, but I mean the way I see it is this guy's like, he's gigantic. He hits the board. He makes an immediate impact on the board. So, and like, he's a gigant. I get the mental image of like a giant, like jumping down and slamming into the ground, causing tremors and earthquakes and stuff, vibrating all the way across the battlefield. So maybe he's a wasp swarm, I think it's called, on legs. All creatures in your opponent's side just get shoved back into the back row. Okay, so next we have another one of the Incarnate, which again is a golem infused with the power of nature. So Purity Incarnate, what would I think? Purity makes me think of, cleanse. Maybe we see the first silence power in Spellweaver. Something akin to like remove all weakness, emblem, shield, frost, shock, any status effects and any counters, or emblems, from creatures or a creature of your choosing, and just wipe that all clean, you know what I mean? Won't remove abilities, or I don't think it'll block abilities, but it'll be like, a creature's got a weakness emblem on him or a shield emblem on him, just completely wipe that away. And maybe she'll even have Swift, because she's running like, she appears to be in like mid stride, moving very quickly, but judging by the way her, I guess you can call that hair, is blowing back, maybe she'll have Swift. But if she has Swift, maybe she won't have, when this creature attacks. Although maybe she will. But probably won't be very fast in that case. Wasp Swarm is the card I kept talking about. Sunrise Fairy, the other one, the 2/1, but no effect, and never played. Alright, moving on to the Dark Legions of Corruption. So you guys get to see some of this, little of that, the Nephiros. Flash of Delirium, for those of you who don't know, although I think it's still called Flash of Delirium, ignore me. Bezarok Abyss Gatekeeper. Now this card was in Spellweaver, for those of you who don't know. Bezarok was like a 5/3, 3 aspect, 4 mana, speed 3. I posted his picture on the forums so you guys can check him out. What he used to do is you used to play him, you'd take the top 4 cards of your deck, put under him, and when he died, you got to look at those 4 cards, and any demons from among those cards were immediately put into play. He was removed and replaced with Zyara, but he'll be back. When Zyara came out, I said he's mustering his demonic army and he will return with a vengeance. And I expect him to have some kind of major power. Maybe he'll be, you know what? I think he might be some kind of complement to Zyara. Like maybe, Zyara's effect to make everything, -1/-1 on both sides. Maybe he'll be like buff your side, slow your opponent kind of deal. Something to kind of, or maybe something different. I picture him complementing Zyara somehow. Like, maybe not directly, but, with a combination of Bezarok, Zyara just being ridiculous, you know what I mean? So, Zyara was originally, a card art that no one knew what she was going to do, but now we know what she does. So, Midnight Feast. Haunt, the artwork for Haunt was technically used. It was for a card called Exorcism that came out during closed beta, and it was basically a means of destroying a blessing, which was like a spell. Blessings such as Path of Transcendence, Angelic Song, Mantle of Wisdom or Mantle of Winds, stuff like that. And so I don't know if it'll come back as an artwork, but so I'm not going to touch on Haunt because it has technically been used. Corruption Incarnate, again, another incarnate, the power of corruption, infusing a suit of armor and making it quote-unquote live. Probably something akin to Noxious Fumes, or maybe even just when this creature attacks, put a weakness emblem on something. You know what I mean? Or when this creature attacks, -2/-2 something. That's something I could see Corruption Incarnate doing. So moving on to Dominion, you guys can take a look at this, and there's Despina, Blood-Seeking Mutant and all that, we know. Dominion Incarnate, other than like maybe a weakness counter, or maybe like another, when this creature attacks another creature you control gains life link or life bound, +1/+1, or something akin to that. Something that either weakens another creature or buffs another creature. Something about the pursuit of power. Maybe give when this creature attacks, give another creature +3/+3, but destroy it at the end of turns. Maybe something along those lines would work really well with Coronis' Ravens. I think that would be a really cool interaction. But again, just speculation on my part. Tyson Whisper. Bloodwell Slave Driver. Now, I've looked at this card art, for a while, and, it's one of my favorite artworks in the game right now. Bloodwell Slave Driver, and if you want me to be really honest with you, when I think of Slave Driver, I think of creatures you've stolen through Despina, through Helm of Dominion, through, Hypnotizing Whisper. So maybe she, gives, +2/+2 and, an additional speed to a creature you've stolen, which would make her really niche, but really good in draft and really good in limited, if you can draft the right cards kind of thing. But would be a really fun kind of card, because you could basically, especially with cards coming out, we've got Hypnotizing Whisper, we've got Advanced Despina, we've got Helm of Dominion, we've got Drela, all those cards right there, allow you to steal your opponent's creatures. So she might see play, and even so, more so down the line of with cards coming out in future sets. Or the other thing I could see Bloodwell Slave Driver doing is this is less likely, something akin to when this creature enters the battlefield, like temporary, kind of like Fae of Charms a creature, steal it to your side, give it +1/+1 or something, and like, what is it, ready it. I couldn't think of the word. The other thing, and it's even less likely, based on the fact that everyone around her is cheering, maybe she just like gives like +1 attack and +1 speed to all of your creatures. That's not exactly Dominion-esque, so I think it's less likely. So Rage, you guys can read the Offering Yard and the Fortress of the Dragonborn and the Zash. This is another creature that would be a legendary because he has a name. Agrektok, Warborn. Again, I don't even want to try and pronounce that first name. Obviously an orc, based on the artwork for the other orcs. A very big guy, probably not very fast, so I would put him at like maybe 1 speed. Definitely not as fast as a goblin, so yeah, definitely 1 speed. I get the feeling like he'd have a power similar to Hydra. He seems like if you're Warborn, you're a kind of guy who like thrives in combat, and the more damage he takes, the stronger he gets, kind of deal. Which would be interesting because you could like ping him with Disciple of Zash, and it wouldn't be like at the end of turn, make him bigger, because he doesn't regenerate like a Hydra does. He gets enraged, so maybe he gains like +2 attack for every every time he's damaged. So you could ping him with Disciple of Zash, make him bigger. You could even ping him with your own Word of Fire, make him bigger. You know what I mean? You could play him and make him big and make him really huge. Obviously there'd have to be a risk versus reward, because if you damage him a lot, make him really strong, then his health is really low. That would be a really interesting creature, especially for Enrage. And I think if he was like a later game creature, something bigger, something that you can kind of finish or end the game with, then he'd be really good. Ruination, Burning Rage, we all know those. Enslaved Minotaur. Wow, we've got 3 on this page. Here we go. Enslaved Minotaur. I see Minotaur as kind of like a 3/1 charge, or Swift. Yes, Swift. Yeah, Swift. I'm sorry, I'm playing. Got so many card games in my mind, I can't remember what the. So I see this guy as Swift, or the other effect that I see on this guy is he's a 1-drop, maybe 3/1, a lot like Spoiled Aristocrat, but can only attack if you control if another creature attacks with him, not if you play another creature. Maybe he'd even be a 3/2. But because he's enslaved and needs a master, maybe he can only attack if another creature attacks with him. You know what I mean? Maybe he's really big, but the drawback is he can't attack alone. So if you don't get another creature to stick, he basically doesn't get to do anything. Battle-worn orc. Again, battle-worn kind of makes me think of Warborn. So battle-worn kind of makes me think of very experienced and very and being able to thrive in combat. So you know what? Because he's holding 2 axes and he's fighting 3 enemies, 2 are kind of present in the predominant in the picture. Maybe he's the first creature that gets to attack twice. Maybe he's got something akin to double strike. Maybe he attacks or maybe he's just a creature kind of like Jin Battlemaster. Maybe he deals twice as much damage to other creatures because he's so experienced fighting other creatures. And he'd have something like, maybe he'd be a 3/4, so he would have, the toughness to be very applicable or very good in trading in creatures. Again, his stats would depend on his mana cost, which are not what I'm really focusing on right here. Last one on this page, Rage Incarnate. Now, I see Rage Incarnate, and all I can think of is this guy deals damage every time he attacks. Maybe whenever this creature declares an attack, deal 2 damage. And this would be upon declaring, upon making your final decisions on attack. So you click that big, the cross swords button before your opponent has a chance to declare blockers and respond. He would get to deal the 2 damage. Now, maybe that would make him too good. Again, it would depend on his stats and his mana cost, which is not what I'm looking to get into here. Goblin Fanatic. Now, there's a creature in Magic with pretty much that exact same name. It's Mog Fanatic, but Mog is just another goblin. It's a 1/1 for 1 mana that you can sacrifice it and have it deal 1 damage to anything, target creature or player. I could see a very similar effect going for this Goblin Fanatic. He's small, even for a goblin standards. He's holding a mace, which just goes to show how small he is. But the way he's swinging it almost makes it like he's doing a hammer toss. He's spinning it around to build momentum, and he's just going to launch in one way. And when you launch, if you're that small and you're holding onto a mace, which I don't know if those are stones coming out of it, or what was a stone. Maybe he's swinging it around. He just launches himself, and he goes right on top of something, and he follows through. The mace hits first, and his head bounces right off the mace. He's not getting up. So maybe he sacrifices himself, deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Be really good, very much akin to Plague Vermin, and it's something I think Rage could do really well with. I don't think it's too strong because it's only 1 damage. Keep it balanced so that he's doing 1 damage and has he's a 1/1. I don't really think we need something like a Perilous Mirror, which is a 1/1 that deals 2 damage when it dies. Keep it 1/1. Orc Berserker. Now again, Berserker, what does a Berserker do? They get crazier and stronger and more violent the more damage they take, the more they're cut up, the more blood is spilled. So I picture this guy having very much a if this creature is damaged, he gets maybe he gets ranged, or maybe he just gets more attack, which would be kind of tricky to work with because damage falls off at the end of turn. But interact with Disciple of Zash and other such effects. Maybe he's just maybe he could have something akin to he has additional speed if his attack is greater than his starting one. So put Boiling Blood, or you have Massive Assault out. Again, the way I look at him is there's a way to boost his attack, but through some kind of clause. And that's it. They're the credits. There's the list of names and the back cover. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I know it's not exactly what you guys are looking for. I know you like to watch me fail miserably at playing Spellweaver, but I just don't have the time and energy to put into games right now. I mean, I barely even play, the games that I barely play, like I said, any games. So I'm going to try and keep plugging away at making videos, but right now I'm kind of want to expand into other things. I'm thinking of I have friends who do digital animation. Maybe I get together with them and we make some kind of animated short about Spellweaver, or Spellweaver jokes. I have some Spellweaver jokes kind of brewing in my mind. Just kind of stuff related to Spellweaver, but isn't necessarily gameplay, is basically where I'm going with this. And again, maybe it's not what you guys want, maybe it's not what you guys expect, but oops, wrong one. But it's just kind of where I am right now. I can't really commit to making videos at any kind of schedule, and I'm still having some technical issues on my part with OBS and my video editing software. And I'm working now, like I've said multiple times, and it's pretty much every day. I mean, I'm on call, but they call me in pretty much every day, so it's not that big a deal, but it does take me kind of away from making videos. But work, gotta work. Finance, or bit of a financial snag in life. Gotta get as many hours as possible. So, but again, you guys don't listen to me to hear me gripe on about my problems. But I have contemplated starting up, a Patreon or Subbable or whatever it is that they do. But I don't feel like the videos I make are worth people paying me money to make them. Like, the people who make money off their videos, they put hundreds of hours into their videos. They edit them, they make animations, and they do all this stuff I can't even come close to making, so I don't feel right charging money for my videos. So I mean, I wouldn't charge money for the videos. Like, I wouldn't make it so that only people who pay me get to watch my videos. Now, the videos would still be free, but I don't feel like getting paid to make them, I guess is the way to put it. So I don't, like I said, I don't feel like what I make is good enough to get paid for. So anyway, that's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I have absolutely no idea when the next video will be or what the next video will be. Feel free to drop me an idea like, hey, maybe you could do a video about the community, or you can make a video about the forums, or, you know, what's your favorite type of pudding. You know, just if you guys have ideas, I'm all ears, because I'm kind of running out of ideas that aren't gameplay, because I can just go, hey, there's a deck, let me play it. That's the easy part. But at any rate, guys, thank you so much for supporting me. I know it's been kind of a dry spell in videos lately, but like I said, life gets in the way and stuff happens. So thanks so much for your guys' continued support. I continue to get people on when I do play Spellweaver, just to play a couple games. People messaging me about this and that, and I love that. I love that you guys reach out to me, and I love that the community is so great for Spellweaver. People still reach out to me on the forums every once in a while. What might be a good thing for me to get back to maybe is Deck Doctor. Maybe not doing the gameplay, but just kind of, you know, talking about decks and stuff. Maybe that would work. I don't know. You guys send me your ideas and what you want to see that's not gameplay, because like I said, I just don't have the time and the ability to get to that just yet. But at any rate, guys, I'd love to hear what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for continuing to support me. You know, you can support me by thumbs up, subscribe, comment, the whole 9. We do have the Steam release ever closing in, and the more that you guys can support my video here, my channel here, the more you guys can spread the channel around, the more people will be jumping in when the game goes to Steam, because it's not going to be, when the game gets to Steam, it's not going to exactly just become super huge. There is going to be work that needs to be done, and I'm going to do my part, and I hope you guys, you know, join in the fight, so to speak. But other than that, I can't think of anything else to ramble on about, so I'm going to call this video done. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. I know I did. I love making these videos. I just don't get around to it as often as I like to. But at any rate, guys, thank you so much for watching, and may the cards rise to meet you and bring good RNG to your enemies' enemies.